I am here with Heather Contant from the Delaware Municipal Electrical Corporation. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So we have some exciting things to talk about. First of all, it is Power Week.
Yes, Public Power Week. We're so excited about it. We celebrate it every year with the 2,000 plus public power utilities across the country.
So tell me, what is that exactly? What does it mean?
Yeah, so we're celebrating all week the wonderful benefits of being part of a public power community, and kind of what makes us unique from the other types of electric utilities that folks might be familiar with. So there's kind of three different kinds of electric utilities, one of which is your locally owned, community owned electric utility. So that's what DMACC member communities are. And they are just a few of the 2,000 plus communities throughout the country that own their own electric utility. So all the decisions are made locally. The money goes back to the community because they're not for profit. And the decisions that are made there are made by the people that the community elects or appoints to make those decisions. So it's all very locally driven.
And how does DMACC figure into this?
Sure. So there are the utility itself that has the direct customers, but then they have to get their power from somewhere. So some generate their own power, but others are going to come together because smaller communities going into the electric market for maybe just a thousand or 2,000 customers aren't going to get the same price as if you bought in bulk for, say, 100,000 customers. So DMACC fits into that because we're the joint action agency that our member communities kind of all come together. So if you think of like Sam's Club or other bulk orders, the more you buy, the more you save. So they come together to actually save their customers even more money so that more money can go back into the community. And that way, DMACC kind of brings in that wholesale side of things. We're able to do financing a little bit different on behalf of them because of the joint ownership that we have from our members.
So if that was something that, I mean, who doesn't like saving money, first of all?
Yeah.
So, but so how do I become involved?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is really we're focusing on those communities that own their utilities. So real quick, we're going to kind of go north to south. And so you've got Newcastle, Newark, Middletown, Smyrna, Clayton, and Dover, Milford, Seaford, and Lewis. All of them are the public power utilities in Delaware. So there's only 9 of them in Delaware. So if you're a customer of those communities, you are blessed with extra benefits. And we want to get the word out about what that means because it's not just your residential customers that may move in and out of those territories. You're also looking at businesses that are deciding where they're going to locate. And Delaware is such an economic development driver, and our communities help with that. When it comes to faster permitting, when it comes to that quality of life that businesses are looking for their employees. When they come to move there, they want to know that there's a good school system, there's an excellent police department, there's a robust recreational and parks department. And their electric utility actually helps facilitate that through giving back money to some of those other departments within the community. So we're just trying to really get the word out so that people sort of understand the unique benefits that they get by living in those communities, and kind of how we're able to help the state overall through that.
Yeah, and again, who doesn't love saving money, and it's particularly if you're in those areas. Am I automatically signed up for savings? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so one of the benefits that DMACC provides to all electric customers throughout Delaware is savings that you kind of don't even know you're getting. And so it's sort of through some avoided costs. So DMACC actually fights on the federal level when it comes to transmission costs. And so we're getting a little technical in this, but the transmission costs are, they're totally different than the local community that owns the smaller lines that are called distribution lines that go directly to the customer. The transmission lines are those bigger, thicker. I know when I was a kid, I used to think they looked like robot army men, like those kind of, they have like a person figure to them.
Yeah.
So those are owned by somebody other than your local community. And so we fight on the federal level because that's where decisions for those costs are made. And that actually affects no matter who your electric provider is in Delaware. When DMACC goes and fights to save millions of dollars, we're talking over the years, we've saved over $50 million from customers having
Wow.
to have those transmission charges increase even more. So those savings are, they're the avoided cost by us fighting for you. That it doesn't really matter where you live in Delaware. If you get electric in Delaware, we're fighting on your behalf at the federal level.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, so not only are you saving money, but you don't even have to do anything for it in that
Right,
respect.
right. And I mean, we have programs that are for our members, customers specifically. I think we might have even talked before about Efficiency Smart, which is our energy efficiency program, so they can get rebates, and that's for residential or commercial and business customers. It's actually Energy Efficiency Day today, October 7th. So it's in the middle of Public Power Week. So there's all these great things happening this week. But what we really want to do is try and help customers know kind of how they can do simple things and save their electricity. And by doing that, they're going to also save the utility money, so we can give more back to the communities.
So there is additionally a part, a financial part where DMACC helped members in the community with $250,000 relating to COVID. Can you, I mean, that's a huge number. Can you
Thanks.
explain that for me?
Yes. So DMACC is, like I said, we're jointly owned by our member communities. And so those communities, once again, being the not-for-profit utility that they are, and being tied directly to the community, they wanted to know how they could give back to their customers on an even greater level during all of this COVID pandemic. Because so many people are hurting even greater right now, especially when businesses were shut down and employees had to be laid off. Our members have sort of that fund that helps people during a time of need. But as you could imagine, that could get depleted really quick with as many people who were struggling and might still be struggling during this pandemic. So our members thought of what is something that they could try to do to give back even more. And so during one of our board meetings just a few months ago, our communities decided that it was important to allocate money from the DMACC budget to their communities to help their customers. So we came up with $250,000 to find a way to distribute that throughout our membership, and kind of see if that can make even a small dent in helping their customers be able to keep their electric on and also kind of not get further into the red while they're trying to fight their way back to kind of a level playing field after this pandemic.
And so how does that work? Is that something you apply for, or is it something, how does that work?
Yeah, so if you're an electric customer of one of our members, you would actually contact your utility directly. So DMACC has already given that money to our members, and it's distributed through the nonprofit that they use to kind of handle that fund. So some might use the Salvation Army, some might be using Catholic Charities. So the customers are going to definitely want to reach out to their local community because they're the one who owns that utility, and kind of ask for what they need to do for financial assistance for their electric bill. And they'll kind of help them through that process that's unique to each community.
And so just so I'm clear, and so we're all clear listening. So this is if I lost my job because of the pandemic and I can't afford to keep my lights on or my refrigerator on, I can reach out and say, hey, what do I need to do to get some help right now?
Yes. So this is certainly for those who are struggling financially. Your income is low or significantly lowered by this pandemic, and you're struggling to pay your bills. Our members are working out different payment plans that make it more feasible. Reaching into this financial assistance. It's sort of on a first come, first served basis. So I don't know how much is left in each of their budgets, but certainly reaching out is the first step. And kind of they'll have some questions. There'll be an application they'll need to fill out, and it's completely objective because the community actually is going to go through that other nonprofit to help facilitate the process. So there's no bias in there or anything, but it's kind of through the need that people have. Some of them do have an income level restriction. So you're just going to want to know that from the community, but certainly reach out if you're struggling to pay your bill rather than not pay it month after month after month. It's certainly better to try and reach out to them now and work out some sort of a plan that can make it feasible for you to keep your lights on and not get deeper in the hole.
Yeah, you don't want to just ignore it
Right.
because at some point that's going to catch up, and then you're going to have a giant bill that's due immediately rather than having reached out ahead of time to work something out.
Yes, definitely.
And so, what else is going on with DMACC that we can look forward to, not only with Public Power Week, but in the next few months?
Yeah, so we are getting back in action like many businesses are these days, trying to work out how to inch our way back to normal. And our member communities are doing the same and getting out there, serving their communities. I think during this Public Power Week, we just really want to say thank you to those line workers and the utility staff that worked around the clock. As I'm sure you know, either personally or through people you know who were hit by the latest hurricanes that came through just a few weeks ago, the tornadoes that came through. We really saw some significant damage, and during this pandemic you still had those line workers and the utility staff stepping up to make sure that that power got back on quickly. And that's one of the things that we're so proud of, the workers who represent our communities, but we're also just proud that because we're local, because we're so small, we're able to have reliability that beats out any other utility in the area, because they're the neighbors. They live and work, in or near those communities. So there's that extra level of care that they have for the community, and then there's the proximity that they have. So when the time comes for the call, they're there. They're there within minutes. So some other utilities out there might be measuring their outages in hours, and certainly in some storms, they're going to be days. But time after time, our members are measuring them in just minutes. We have members like the city of Newark, where their duration for an outage per customer is 31 minutes. But nationally, you're looking at a couple hours for other
Mhm.
customers. So we're just proud of the work that they do. We also are very proud that they're now getting nationally recognized for the work that they're doing. So we have over half of our members are recognized as being reliable public power providers, which is a huge designation that the national organization, American Public Power Association, they give to utilities that sort of have that overall well-rounded efforts. They think of safety. They prioritize reliability. They prioritize workforce development and making sure that they have the best customer service and the best staff working in their field. And so they're now being nationally recognized for that, and we are so proud of them.
That's incredible. And to your point, when all the storm 2020 has been a nightmare as it is, but then of course we were hit with the hurricanes and the tornadoes, and I was driving home one day trying to get home so I could be safe, and I saw guys and women running essentially in their trucks to be on site to address the issues right away. And you hear of other areas in the country where it's days and days before even with something like that, where a tornado hits or whatever, and there are days and days without power, and our men and women are on site ready to go. And I would assume that a lot of that is because of the it's not some giant corporation or government entity that has to go through this insane approval process multiple times over to get to a decision maker. It's smaller and more efficient. Would you
Yes.
agree with that?
I would. So we certainly were offered help from outside of Delaware to come, and that's one of the benefits of being part of this sort of public power uh, brotherhood or sisterhood, is when one utility in the country is in need, or a state is in need, utilities from across the country want to come and help. But the big benefit that Delaware communities have is through DMACC being part of that joint action. There was already, a level of commitment that all of the communities signed on for helping each other in a time of need. So when you saw all of the tornadoes that went through the city of Dover and Smyrna, our members were right on there. They were taking care of their communities back at home, but they were also doing everything they could to give extra line workers and trucks to the communities that were hit the hardest. And so instead of those customers waiting days and days and days for the significant level of damage that happened, because now we're not just talking about a line or two down, you're talking about poles that were just shredded. I mean, it looked like, I don't know if you remember the Lorax from Dr. Seuss, but
Yes.
I'm telling you, it looked like back when all those trees were bare in the Lorax, like you just looked out and things were chopped off at the top. I mean, these poles and the trees were just shaved off. And to be able to know that our members have people that they can count on within a day of asking, that they have dozens of trucks and line workers coming to answer the call, to give them the extra time they need, working overtime. You know, Seaford was, you know, they were taking care of their community, you know, for part of the day, and then going up and helping, you know, with other communities for another part of the day, because these men and women were working as much as they could in as safe of an environment as they could to try and get power back on to all of these customers as quickly as possible. And we were so impressed. I mean, you sometimes can take things for granted until you really see things in action. And it was so impressive and so empowering, and just humbling to see what these line workers and utility staff will do in a time of need.
That's awesome. And, it's a testament to what you guys are doing. Heather, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Where can we get more info on all of this?
Yes, definitely. So you can visit our website, which is publicpowerde.com, or you can follow us on Facebook. That's DMACC Inc., so DEMECINC. And we're posting pictures throughout Public Power Week. We're keeping people up to date on programs and services, and everything that's going on that you can take advantage of as a customer within our communities.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we will talk again, I'm sure.